I just wanted to make sure that you listeners are listening to the Drapedomaniac podcast on doayamedia.com. You are, right?
Peace, family, and welcome to this edition of the Drapedomaniac podcast. This is Ayapo Yapa, the HDIC, that is the head Drapedomaniac in charge. And I'm here with my lovely wife, Angela.
What's up?
And we are here to have conversations on how to get off this plantation. Well, I told Angela today that I wanted to talk about black love. We talked about the gender war, and we talked about black love a little bit, but I'd like to take a deeper dive into black love and what it means and so on. Now, Angela didn't know I was going to say this, but
you love me?
I do. I love you, and
I'm black.
And you're black. And you just mean the world to me. Ever since I first saw you and I started getting a feel for your personality, I knew there was something very, very special about you. And when we met and then we got together and I started seeing that you really were just like you presented yourself to me, the way that you sing, that just really made me fall for you. And now, like I said, I love you, and every day I love you more, and you know that's true. When it comes to black love, I was thinking about this, and it's not just because you're black, or it's not just because a person is black. It's because black people can relate to each other in a way that you can't relate to anybody else. It's like it's for the same reason that I enjoy doing these podcasts with you. Originally, I was doing them by myself, but I enjoy doing them with you, and I'm always telling you after we're done just how much I enjoy the conversation. And quiet as it's kept, Angela and I have these conversations all the time.
But they are kept quiet because they're not on the podcast.
Right. But the thing is, I can talk to you in a way that there's no way in heck I'd be able to talk to a white person about it, a white woman. If I was married to a white woman, I couldn't talk to her about the things that I talk to you about. And I might be able to talk to her, but she wouldn't be able to understand it. Mm. And vice versa. If you're married to a white man, there's no way for them to get it. But the conversations that we have, we don't see eye to eye on everything, but we have this common ground, and a common experience. Even though our experiences are vastly different, they still have a commonality to them. Mm-hmm. And that's by virtue of us being black. And I think that when you can relate to somebody, like people say love is love. You can't help who you fall in love with, all that. But you know what? There's just, let's say that you can go deep into love with someone who is not of your people. There's just so deep you can go. But when you're with someone who can literally relate to you like on a soul level, then there's no limit to the depth of that relationship, in my opinion. So anyway, that's my little monologue to start out with. I didn't write it down or anything, but it's just talking from my heart. I love you. And so you got the floor.
You told me you loved me before you met me.
That's true.
I mean, we were talking on the phone, so I guess we had made each other's acquaintance.
Mm-hmm.
But
and the reason I said that though, but it took me to get to know you to be able to say that, because there was this woman I was in love with, and it was you. I just hadn't met you yet.
What does that mean? That sounds like people who write letters, dear future husband.
Well, there you go. It's kind of like that. You have an image of this person, and an ideal of a person. Maybe you'll meet them, and maybe you never will. But then after I met you, then I'm like, oh, Brad, this is that person. Mm. So anyway, that's what that is.
Mm. It was something I had walked in on, and I think you had said you were on this live, but somebody had made a point. I think it was about the gender war or something, but someone had made a point about love, and I'm like, we didn't make that point, but that's a really good point. I wish we had said that or discussed that, but now I can't remember what it was.
Was it Sister Lashid?
It might. I don't know who it was. I'm just trying to remember what the point was.
I remember she did one. It was a good live. I can't. I'd have to replay it.
You don't remember me walking in and saying, we didn't even say that, because I had made a point of saying, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that.
I remember you saying that, but I can't remember exactly what it was that she was talking about.
I remember hearing that people tend to couple up and marry with people who are within a 6-mile radius or 10-mile radius or 30-mile radius or something like that. I can't remember. And I thought about that because I think that radius can, like when you grow up with people and you grow up in the same environment, you have the same values or similar values, you have similar experiences. I guess I just remember that made a big impression on me, and it sort of surprised me. At that time, I was married to someone who was born in Jamaica and raised in Canada, and I was born and raised in Detroit. He was Jamaican and of Jamaican descent, African, and I was of U.S. descent, African. But I was thinking about what we had in common, or the ways in which we had grown up together, even though we hadn't grown up in literal physical proximity. But I do think that in terms of, I think it's common, it's normal, and it's natural for people to be with people who are like them. I think it's normal and natural for people to be with people who they have things in common with.
Right.
I think it's normal and natural. People say that, women date their fathers and men date their mothers, and not literally, but I think that, there's something about those critical relationships that sets the tone for your expectations, or maybe your anti-expectations in relationships. And so I guess in terms of, I feel like Black people being with Black people, or Black Americans being with Black Americans, I don't really know, but I feel like there is something natural about it.
Right.
And I think that us being together, it perpetuates us. When we are not together and when we're with other people, it kills us. And I think that there's something unnatural. I think that, you and I have a disagreement, I think, in terms of, sexuality. I think that sexuality is on a spectrum. So I think that, in terms of people's attraction to men or women, I think there are some people who are, on one end of the spectrum, and they're only attracted to women, strongly attracted to women, and they could be men or women. And then there are some people who are only attracted to men and strongly attracted to men, and that could be men or women. And some people are, kind of more in the middle. And I also think that in terms of, sexual, in terms of, I got distracted. In terms of people's, I think that it's, I don't even know what point I was trying to make with that. I totally lost it. But I think that it's normal for black people to be with black people, and I think it's abnormal for us to be with white people. I think there's a certain percentage of people in the world who are going to be with people who are outside of their group. And I think it's a relatively small percentage. I think that's where I was going. I think that there's a relatively small percentage of people who are women who are only attracted to women, and a small percentage of black people who are attracted and fall in love with someone white, or vice versa, or someone whose culture and value system is so different from their culture and value system. And so I think that you can see that I see that there's something wrong when you have a high percentage of us attracted to something that is not us. When you have, when you see these men, and this is media, this is television, but you see men or you see women who are with people who, at least on the surface, don't seem to be like, their people, and it's like a higher percentage than would seem to be normal or standard. And it seems like it's a higher percentage for us than for other people. So, and I think that's a reflection of white supremacy and our hate of ourselves and our lack of connection with ourselves.
But I find it interesting that this is kind of a side issue, but I find it interesting because you and I are like, as far as north is from south or east is from west when it comes to the subject of sexuality or LGBT and Q, X, Y, Z, and all. And I see it as an aberration. And it's interesting to me that you can see like the aberration of black people being attracted to white people or falling in love with white people or marrying white people, but not two men being attracted to each other or two women being attracted to each other as equally an aberration. Well, and you, as you know, I don't believe anybody's born like that, and so on. You know how I feel about it. But even with that, because we've had this conversation a lot of times, I'm like, you have someone like a James Baldwin. I think the man was brilliant. I think he was spot on with what he had to say. He was able to verbalize it. He was eloquent with it, and so on. And even in his gayness, right, or even in his homosexuality, he was with white people, with white men. I'm like, what the F? What? So the train derailed someplace, and it was Angela Davis with a white woman, I think
so.
And I'm like, what the heck? But then you have
that
some
comedian. There's this black comedian, Wanda. Is it Wanda Sykes? I think she's with a white woman.
And I'm like, but is she somebody? Is she like
conscious?
Or does she claim to be?
No.
Well, see, that I kind of, it is what it is. But even in that, I'm like, brother, we just can't seem to stay away from white people. But then again, as you said, that's
evidence.
That's not, but it's a small number. But if you were to watch television, watch media, you would think that all black men are gay, all black men want white women, all black women are masculine, all black women want white men, all black people like to drink malt liquor and play the lottery. And so, I mean, and it's just amazing. And like they always like to talk about black on black crime, which is a myth, and they use that coded language, like that evening I showed you that one segment where where it was Laura
That woman.
Ingraham.
Oh.
Yeah, it was man, the coded language she was using. I was like, oh my god, lady. But anyway, in terms of black love, I love seeing black people together.
Mm-hmm.
I love like the fact that when you look at it honestly, there's always going to be bad relationships or relationships that end badly or whatever. But I've had relationships that have ended badly, but that just meant that wasn't the person I was supposed to be with.
Mm-hmm.
That same person that my relationship ended badly with might be perfect. Mm-hmm. You know, it would is perfect for somebody else, and I wasn't perfect for her, and I'm perfect for you. You know what I mean?
And I've had relationships end and not end badly, but you know, it was just either they ran their course or, you know, that wasn't the right match.
Right.
I want to loop back to the spectrum or the what did I call it? There's another. But anyway, if there's a spectrum from extremely feminine to extremely masculine, or I think it doesn't have to be a straight line. It can be like the bell curve or like a curve. And so I think that there are some things that are like, you know, much rarer, and I guess you could call them aberrations. I don't think that, you know, men and men or women and women being together could be the norm for humanity, or else
there wouldn't be humanity.
Right. So, and I actually think that we could use that same conversation for black people.
Oh yeah.
You know, like in order, like when we're, I'm using notes today. I'm trying to, because once again, it's late, and I notice that my brain is not as
I
sharp.
apologize for that, sweetheart.
Well, that's okay. We had to adjust the schedule the way we adjusted it. But if when we're not with each other, then we're against each other. When we're having children with white people, then we are diluting, you know, and helping to exterminate. Or as what did the Brazilians say? Or there's some concept that people have of bettering the race. It was in this country too. So the way that some people believe that we better ourselves is by extinguishing ourselves.
Right.
And so, you know, I feel like while there can be some small percentage who are, you know, on the fringes and go a different way, in order for us to perpetuate, then we need to be with each other. And I feel like in this system of white supremacy, and I think this is the point that's made, in this system where, you know, and you've already pointed out, it's hard to find black people who love other black people, you know, deeply and sincerely. But I feel like if you're with a white person, then ideologically, you're exterminating yourself. You're with someone who is not for you, and who is not for your family, and is not for your family, your community, and is not for your people. And so that's like an act of violence against yourself. Maybe in an ideal world, if there is such a thing, you know, we might have the freedom to just, you know, love as we love. Although I think that, you know, people still have the freedom to love as they love, or be attracted as they're attracted. Nobody is doing anything to them. But we have to acknowledge that our love and attraction is tainted by and filtered through the lens of white supremacy.
Right. Well, another thing I find interesting is like whether it's a person in terms of their sexuality, or whether they want to quote unquote, you know, swirl or whatever. It's interesting to me when they become apoplectic about things that you're saying about them negatively or whatever. I don't have the power. I'm not Yah. I don't have the power to make anybody do anything. This is my opinion. This is how I feel about it. But when I hear people who, as a matter of fact, I hear a lot of proponents of black love. I just watched Lethal Black Man's video. It was awesome. I need to comment on it to let them know that I watched it. But he was just talking about, he said something that I think is a sentiment among many pro-black and black love people is, if you want to marry a white woman, you want to marry a white man, go do it. But don't get ticked off at me because I don't like it. But I can't stop you from doing anything. How is me speaking against something or not liking it stopping you from doing it? Mm-hmm. No matter who you are or what you are. Same goes for me. And so why the anger? Why the venom? I understand, like, on a human level, nobody likes for hit somebody to talk about whatever their choices are. But at the end of the day, like I said, I'm not Yah. I can't stop anybody from doing anything. I can't make anybody do anything. Mm-hmm. Nobody can. In as far as that goes. Mm-hmm. So, like all the anger about it is really pointless. Just go, and as the saying goes, go do you. Mm-hmm. And don't worry about how I feel about it. And I won't worry about how you feel, because I love my black wife. Mm-hmm. and I love black women. Mm-hmm. And if you don't like it, okay, well, don't like it, but that's my preference.
Mm-hmm. I think that I do think, as black people, I feel like I want to say, although it's not true, that we don't have the luxury of an unexamined life. That mm-hmm. we don't have the luxury of just, going to the movies to have fun. We don't have the luxury of just sending our children to whatever school and, trusting that the teachers are going to love them. But I feel like when I say we don't have the luxury, it's almost like I have to say it another way, because it's sort of like, I guess I could say that white people have the luxury of doing certain things without having to be concerned about the repercussions. And a lot of us do things and we're not necessarily concerned about the repercussions because of, our consciousness, mm-hmm. Because we've been born and raised in this society that continues to teach us certain things. But yeah, I was talking to a young woman today, and she was, it was kind of an interesting or weird exchange, because I didn't really know what point she was trying to make. But at some point she was saying that, we have to, a lot of times when you talk to black people, it's like, well, we're always after each other, or we black people this and black people that. Mm-hmm. And my perspective is so different on that. Like, I'm not really like a big fan of like criticizing black people. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But, I felt like, she's like, and my white counterparts, have helped me and this and that. And I said, I was explaining what you had said to me, which I thought was a good point. White people have the luxury of being generous, mm-hmm. And so you'll see, behaviors. And even though a lot of them, they have the luxury of being generous, a lot of them are mean as hell, in my observation. Mm-hmm. They don't even, exercise the cushion of being generous or kind or whatever, because I guess it's some people it ain't their nature, or some it ain't their nature.
Well, real quick, it's raining outside. This is your home. I come in here, beat the crap out of you, and kick you out of the house, and then I just take over your house and everything in it. And then I look out the window. And I said window on purpose.
I know you did. That's why I'm laughing. I don't know why we like that so much.
I look out the window and I see you out there, and you got like a little blanket wrapped around you, and you're shaking. And I build a little hutch for you and give you some food and a way to light a fire and warm yourself. And expect you to say thank you, or better yet, you have children and grandchildren, and your grandchildren are removed from when I actually kicked you out. They don't know anything about it. They don't remember it, and I'm continuously doing like little things for them. based upon the riches that I stole from you, and I have your house. And they're like, well, he's the only one that helps me. Mm-hmm. He's the only one that does anything for me, mm-hmm. without examining the fact mm-hmm. that whatever I'm giving you belonged to your grandmother, mm-hmm. and the reason nobody else is helping you is because my relatives did the same thing to all the other houses, so nobody has anything, mm-hmm. and you're all out on the street.
Mm-hmm. We don't have the resources to
exactly
right,
and but we're able to help when we feel like it,
right.
And we have the luxury of being able to do it.
Help in small ways when we feel like it, not in any meaningful ways.
Right. Not in any way that's gonna actually get you out of that situation. Mm-hmm. And then you look at each other. Well, the great grandchildren are looking at each other. Well, we don't do anything for each other. It's only the people that live in those houses that help. Yeah, and it's all stolen goods, mm-hmm. and all they're doing is giving back a little piece, not a morsel of what they stole. Mm-hmm.
So I think that as our consciousness grows, that we have the responsibility as much as we can to examine things. I think that as our consciousness grows, it's important for us to examine who we're attracted to and why, and what messages mm-hmm. Have contributed to what gets us excited and what turns us off, or what we think is beautiful and what we think is ugly and what we think is valuable mm-hmm. and what we think has no value. And there are a lot of people who honestly, and maybe my ex, I don't know, but a lot of us, I just feel like we don't have we're not able to examine things. Mm-hmm. We're not able to do a critical examination. We're not able to do any analysis. We're just trying to survive day to day, moment to moment, and to find some comfort in some ways of feeling good mm-hmm. about ourselves. So I think a lot of times in terms of, dating and, the way that we present ourselves, because I don't think that our self-hate always shows up in dating, outside, dating people who are a part of, or dating those who are part and parcel of our oppression and our us being demeaned. But it can show up in lots of choices, mm-hmm. That we make. Or maybe they're not even choices, because if we're not conscious, are we making choices?
Remember when we went to Costa Rica?
No.
And I had and I had a banana in Costa Rica for the first time. Mm. And I don't know if you remember.
I don't remember when you had a banana for the first time.
I might have said it to your mother, because I was like, "This is what a banana tastes like." Mm. And the point being, after we got back, I did a video on my other channel, A Black Man's Journey, live, and it was called "Have you ever actually seen a black woman?" Mm-hmm. Or "Have you ever seen a black woman?" And my whole point was that I'm thinking about this banana. I'm like, all my life, I've eaten what I thought was a banana. But I got someplace where there's bananas that are coming right off the tree, not processed. Because, believe it or not, I'm talking to the audience, because believe it or not, the bananas are processed.
A lot of times.
A lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get there, and it was striking to me how different it tasted, to taste an actual banana that hadn't been through any kind of a filter. And so that was what caused me to really think about, have you ever seen a black woman? Have you ever seen a black woman not through the lens of the European model of beauty? Mm-hmm. And when we look at each other, we're not realizing most of the time, and this is true for all of us, it's true of me, because I was raised in this country. Everything that we see is through a lens of like this fog of all this crap that we have learned ever since we were young, whether it's history, whether it's the way that, standards of beauty, whether it's standards of intelligence, whatever it is always through this lens of crap. Mm-hmm. And so in a very real way, to me, we don't even see the world as it is.
Mm-hmm. I think Du Bois spoke about kind of that double consciousness, and maybe some of us, we don't even have the double consciousness. I don't know. I've never read any of his work, so I shouldn't even be talking about it. But the concept that I imagine when I heard double consciousness is that seeing through your own eyes and also seeing things through the mainstream eyes. And the mainstream eyes are, white male beauty, white male standards or whatever. Well, that's funny.
You look at, I was getting ready to say Raven Simone.
White male.
You see Nina Simone oh, brother, I was just about to say her name. Esther Roll. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, she's not pretty. According to who? According to what? Mm-hmm. Based upon what? Mm-hmm. Because they actually look like black women. Mm-hmm. And it's sad, and it actually angers me sometimes when I think about it, just how much was stripped from us and stolen from us, and the conditioning that we've been subjected to. And I think I might like quote this once a week. It's like Malcolm X,
who taught you to hate yourself? Mm-hmm.
And it's, of course, a rhetorical question because we know the answer. Mm-hmm.
And so I think, as we have greater and greater consciousness, it's important to, really examine examine, what our values are, what our behavior reflects, what our belief system is and why. And I think it's also imperative to make choices that reflect our growing consciousness. Mm-hmm. I don't think that it's always that we can always talk about things, because sometimes people are not receptive to talk. Mm-hmm. But I feel like we help each other through example. Mm-hmm. We help each other by modeling certain things. And so I think that as much as we can, right living and wholesome living and living in an alignment with truth and with knowledge and consciousness is, of service not only to us as individuals, but to our families and our communities and, to the world. I wanted to shift subjects a little bit, sure. Not really the subject, because the subject is still Black love, but I watched years ago a television show called Survivor's Remorse, and we've been watching it.
Just real quick, thanks for getting this dark chocolate. Good.
Oh, that yeah. I'm glad you enjoyed it. That dark chocolate tastes more like milk chocolate.
Maybe that's why I like it. So I can taste the dark chocolate. I can taste
the dark. Mm-hmm. They have a nice formula. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you got any the last time, but it was but anyway, because I love chocolate. Mm-hmm. And I love cacao. Woo! I could go for some cacao right now. Cacao now. Cacao. How now cacao? I wonder if that's even how you say it.
Nice peak.
Oh, there you go.
Congratulations.
Thank you, baby.
But Survivor's Remorse.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I enjoyed in retrospect, one of the reasons why I wanted us to watch it is because I really appreciated the love within the families. Mm-hmm. There's an interracial or an interracial couple, but there are also there's a Black man married to a Black woman, and the Black woman is darker than him. Not significantly, but she is darker than him. Mm-hmm. There's other Black couple. There's another main Black couple in there for now. but I really wasn't thinking about black love in that show in terms of the dating and marriage type relationships, but in terms of the love of the mother for the love of the mother for the children, and the children for the mother, and the siblings and the cousins,
right.
and the different ways that people express love and support each other. And it for me, I was just kind of surprised by that show. I think that's like kind of when I don't know if you remember when I used to be like a little obsessed with LeBron James, but I think that was like part of like my obsession, or I don't even know if obsession, like I don't know if I was a fangirl, but I was just like, hey, but that like he's involved with that, and I'm like there's some aspects of that show that I'm not really accustomed to seeing.
Right.
Black people reflected a certain way,
right.
on the media or in mainstream TV. And even though that wasn't mainstream, it was a cable show, I think, when it first came out.
Well, I like it. I like it because it's layered, and it's about black people, and it's about multidimensional black people who because we are not a monolith, and they have some black people who are criminals. They have some black people who are, philanthropists. They have, there's just like this range, and it's black folks, and I like that, and they interact with some white folks, but always they're the main focus, and they're on top, and actually it's good show to start conversations, because I like the conversation we had today just about the fact that we were discussing how they got to where they got, and it basically literally everything had to fall in place, everything, and then in terms of white people, like white people can mess up, they can screw up, they can trip, they can they can fall, they can they can just F up and still end up on top. Whereas black people you got one chance. You got one chance, and if you get that, because you can be smart, talented, hardworking, and all of that, and if you don't get lucky, because that's what we were talking about, right? Just the fact that if any single one of those elements had not happened to that family, then they wouldn't be where they were. As opposed to white people, where they could be like crackheads and like Biden's son, he's freaking straight up crackhead, and was making $80,000 a month. And so, what you gonna do?
What you gonna do? But I guess I feel like okay, so I thought you were going to say it brings up discussions, because we were talking when we got home about how we were worried. This is a TV character. We're worried about Reggie. And about how he handles stress, and about, how, when you have a short window for something, sometimes you will push things harder than you might otherwise, because it's just a short window. And if you don't strike while the iron's hot,
right,
then it's a wrap. And I think he knows that, but we're just a concern about health.
Right. And the thing is, I apologize for interrupting, but the thing I like is that it has real world implications that actually cause me to reflect and say that there's something to that in real life that needs to be paid attention to. So I really like something like that, because you know how I am with like just TV shows or whatever, especially if it's like reality, which that's not a reality show. But I'm like, I don't know. I was going to say I don't like mindless entertainment, but I'm about to watch Loki. I haven't even seen the Captain America show.
I don't know what Loki is.
Falcon.
But I know we were supposed to be watching the music thing that came out on the 4th of July. I forget what it's called. Did it come out on the 4th or the 3rd? Anyway, it came out.
Yeah.
It came out. But what Reggie reminds me of, or that character, and I think there's this thing of taking care of yourself, and that's an act of self-love. That's an act of love for you, and that's an act of love for your family. Like, there are a couple of scenes where I feel like his wife is really concerned because of the amount, because of his behavior, because of how he's handling things. And as we have more and more consciousness, taking good care of ourselves, again, is not just for ourselves, but for the people around us. Because people who care about you and who have any sense of awareness are going to be, we want you to be happy and healthy and at peace. Right. So I like that. I like there was one scene where the good white guy said to I feel like he attempted to come in between the family.
Right.
And I really appreciated that the family stuck together.
Right.
In that situation. And it made me remember or think about how many times in real life with athletes or singers or whoever,
right,
that some good well-meaning white person tells you to dump your people,
right, and throws a little money at you,
and throws a little money at you. And I also like, and so I feel like kind of sticking together is an act of love, because right, I feel like nobody is no matter how kind or nice some white person seems, that's not the same as your family.
Right.
And I know there are a lot of people who, it's like, just like a lot of women are like, oh, I don't like hanging around women. Or a lot of people are like, well, my family is like the worst. But I feel like, I don't feel like my family is the best, but I feel like my family is the best I got. And so they the best to me.
Right.
So, I'm not, I respect my family. I love my family, and I'm always trying to ride for my family and figure out how to, my literal family and my figurative family.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Daniel, something else I was going to say just that came up from the show.
Well, you pointed out, and I liked it too, just the scene where you had the young man who was at the wedding, and he felt like he got upstaged, and he did, and he took that kind of hard. But then they showed, the scene weeks later when him and his friend, was just back friends again. Then it's like, quit, don't keep apologizing for it, let it go, and so on. And I really appreciated seeing that, because that was, again, that's the way it is in real life. Like me and my best friend, I told you about, me and them used to go at it. And then next day, we back on the phone. Next Tuesday, back on the phone. It might be going at it again. But it's my best friend since childhood. And that's our relationship. And so I like seeing that, because that's like an aspect of Black love too, is when you love your people. You love your people, and you value your people, and you see a value
in your people. And there was the little interaction where, the guy said, I wish you knew your value and my value.
Yeah. And
I felt that was important, because I think that, a lot of times, we don't know our value. We don't know each other's value. And so, I don't know. For me, the way that I've increasingly come to know my value is by knowing myself.
Right.
I feel like the more that I know myself, the more I appreciate myself. And that tends to be the case with other people. The more that I know someone, the more I appreciate them and value them and see what they bring to the table. But yeah.
And the fact that value isn't based on money.
Right.
And material possessions and so on. It's based upon character, loyalty, it's based upon something that you can't. It's based upon things you can't buy, and that's just that. And it's like every day I'm more and more realizing that a bunch of junk is just a bunch of junk. You remember what I told you last night, and it was just stuff is just a bunch of crap. And I don't care how nice of a Bentley it is, or what. If you leave a Bentley alone and you don't do anything with it for 50 years, it's gonna just turn into a piece of junk and rust, and it's going to turn into that anyway, eventually. So, but I think love is lasting, and that's what a love between a husband and wife, a mother and child, brothers and sisters, black people. Love is lasting, and it transcends all this crap.
I think that for example, I was telling you the other day, like, I really like this person, my son, my new son, and I think that there's something intangible about love as you get to know people, as like it's like, I guess when a child is born, there's something there, and like, I don't know, like, it's not based on, there's nothing, it's not intelligence, it's not talent, it's just something, some je ne sais quoi, something, I don't know how to explain that, and I feel like it's the more time that we spend, with each other, and the more time that we, spend with ourselves, the more love that we, and appreciation, that we'll develop and realize that we have for ourselves. So,
and there's definitely, I'm not going to really explore, but there's definitely a concerted effort against black love.
I thought that was the whole point. I thought you were going to explore it.
I was, but.
Was it because I was fussing at you or frowning?
No, but it's. I'll just put it like this: the fact that there are factions, the fact that there are groups or cliques, whatever you want to call it, or a system that fights so hard against it, shows that there's something powerful about it, as far as I'm concerned.
And I kind of, and I might be biased and I might not, but I feel like, oh my goodness, like, black people are really something special.
Yeah.
And so I feel like when you have two black people together, like, that is really something special and something powerful. And I feel like when you have two conscious black people together, and I feel like choosing to be with another black person in the society is already an act of, I don't know if rebellion is the word, but it's like a power move. It's like, how can, there's like, there's some power there. And I feel like the more your consciousness grows, that the more power there is, the more clarity there is, the more vibrancy there is, the more brilliance there is, the more wonderfulness there is, the more strength there is. Like, and I don't feel like, I mean, I don't know, because I've never been in any other kind of relationship, but I don't really know how to imagine that in any other context, Yeah,
that's it.
That's it.
That's it. That's all I got.
That's all you got?
That's all I got.
Oh, I got you, baby. Isn't that Sonny and Cher? I got you, baby. That's a bad verse. That's a bad.
I got you, babe.
I got you, babe.
Yeah, that's what they.
I want to hear how it sounds. I got you, babe. I got you, babe. It's some weird way it sounds.
I got you, babe.
That's all?
And they just sing it over and over.
Oh, well, okay.
And then after she divorced Sonny and went to this other guy, she was like singing, I got you and you, babe. So. We should have had some black love songs. Is this some nice songs? Right. So, okay. That's it. We're not quite at an hour. We're at 49 minutes.
That's good.
Okay, so just wanted to give you some food for thought. I enjoy these conversations, as I'm always telling you.
Do you think black love is connected to freedom? Do you think that black love is connected to escaping?
I think that anything that is us centered is freedom, is toward freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at least my final thought on this will be, if you really think about any kind of integration, there has historically there has only ever been one race that has ever profited, and whether it's financially or whether it's materially or psychologically or whatever, only one side has ever benefited from us integrating into them.
And it's not us.
And it's not us.
Mm. It's not black us.
It's not black us. As Anjali says. So
I love that.
I know it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you everybody for listening to this edition of the Drapetomaniac Podcast. This is Ayapo Yapa, the HDIC. That's the head Drapetomaniac in charge, and my beautiful wife Angela.
Hello.
Goodbye. Wishing you peace and blessings, safety, security, and sanity through separation. And until next week at this same time, we will see you on the run.
And thank you again for listening to the Drapetomaniac Podcast. Tune in next week at doiamedia.com. DOIAMEDIA.com. And again, we'll catch you on the run. Peace.